Are you afraid of being eaten by a bear in the woods just like me? Well, we didn't want that to happen to you, so we have a special guest tonight. I'm Emma.
I'm Jam.
And I'm Matt.
And we are Treasure Hunt with us. And I'm super excited. We got an expert that lives in the area where the majority of people are. And we are going to find out some good safety tips to help us prevent from getting, eaten by a bear or whatever else might be going on out there.
I love how he goes straight to the bear spray. He's like, let's start with the basics because
Yes.
it's so important. And when Matt and I met in Dillon at the meet and greet, like he just gets it, right? And like it's when you come across somebody who gets it, you enjoy reaping the benefits of their knowledge. Matt, we're so glad to help you. Did you want to tell everybody a little bit about how you know all this stuff?
Sure. Yeah. So I was born and raised a farm kid in the in eastern U.S. in Vermont, and I got into Boy Scouts when I was young. My brothers and I all made it to Eagle Scout. I went to school for firefighting and EMS, so I've got a little of the outdoors stuff and a little bit of the emergency preparedness. My older brother, was in wilderness therapy as well, and so I learned a lot about outdoor skills, primitive skills, and that sort of thing. So spend more of my life outdoors than indoors.
That's great. And you embrace it. And I love that about you. I know when we met originally, one of the things you said is that you were so worried about whether or not people would be prepared. What do you think is one of the most important things people can do to be prepared to protect themselves in the event that they came across a bear in the outdoors? I mean, obviously not on the indoors, but you know what I mean? If they're out on the trail.
Right. I'm going to imagine most people that are going out are going to be with somebody, and that's huge immediately to have somebody with you, or a group. 2 or 3 people is really key. You're going to want to make sure that you're making noise, whether you're whistling or singing. Some people bring music, some people bring bells. The noise is really the most important part to alert the animals, alert the bears that you're nearby, you're there. And being quiet allows you to hear things, but it doesn't allow them to know you're coming. So right off the bat, you're going to want to make sure that you're making your presence known to everything around you, and the birds will carry on that they know that you're there too. So it's not just you out there.
That's fantastic. I didn't know that the last time that I was in Montana, and here we are, we're on this trail, Scott and I, and we're walking up this trail, and he's just talking away. And that's not our norm. We're normally like kind of in the zone and looking around and looking at different things. And I'm like, why are you talking so much? And he's like, for the bears. I'm like, you're talking to
Yep.
bears? And he's like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
not 2 bears, 4 bears. That's so they know
Mhm.
we're coming. And so I'm like, wait, what? I didn't
It's
even know
widely
that was
regarded if you tell an interesting stories, bears will leave you alone if the story's good
Right.
enough. So,
Right. It
Well, no,
plays. It
but like
plays.
it's
Yeah.
important.
It
so,
plays
so
a
what?
huge role. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
No.
I was gonna say, what area are you in right now? So,
So I'm in Southwest Montana, and
okay.
I'm in Gallatin County. So we're right up against Yellowstone. We run right into the Yellowstone area, and we border Madison County, where a lot of these people may be treasure hunting. So that's,
What?
kind of Bozeman, Belgrade, Manhattan, Three Forks area, as far as the Twin Bridges, and Livingston the other direction. So kind of the best of the best, near the big mountains and close enough to the city life to get everything you need.
That's amazing because this is the area where a lot of hunters are in this exact area of Montana. So what you're giving us is going to be just extremely valuable about what we can expect in this area. About, for example, what kind of bears they have in this area.
Sure. So if you're going to be coming to Montana here this spring, you're going to be lucky enough not to have to see any bow hunters or rifles out there. Hunting season doesn't come until much later in the fall. We'll see if the treasure's still out there by then. But if it is, regardless of that, you're going to want to take the precautions to wear something a little bright, something bright on you so people can see you. During scouting season in the fall, a lot of hunters will orange. They're going to be out there with their binoculars, checking stuff out, but not really hunting. So a little bit of visibility doesn't hurt. You're going to want to let people know you're out there too. And whether that's a bright orange bracelet or a bandana tied to your backpack, you don't need to be wearing a bright orange vest, but it's nice not to spook people, and folks don't like to get spooked out here. So definitely
Right.
be sure you know where you're going, know your trails, and be aware that people could be out there.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
great advice. So,
And if you were to like say encounter a bear, like even just in a distance, what do you recommend the course of action is?
Well, so, and that's where we're going to get into. You're not going to know what bear it is, whether it's a grizzly bear or a black bear at a great distance, unless you carry a monoscope or a little monocular like I do, so that you can see at least a few hundred yards to kind of get a better idea of what you're seeing. You know, with a black bear, you're going to want to stand your ground. You want to be loud, and you're going to want to fight it if it comes at you and you don't get your bear spray out in time. Whereas if it's a grizzly bear, you don't get loud, you stay calm, and you back away slow and have to get your bear spray ready. And in the event a grizzly attacks you, you want to protect yourself. You want to protect your body. You want to even play dead. Play dead. I'm sure folks have seen videos of people in Yellowstone, and they'll play dead even if a bison tries to run them over. So that's the difference. With a black bear, you want to do something about it. They'll want to lose the fight faster and get away. They'll want to take off probably on you, and they're not as interested. Whereas the grizzly, you want to give up as soon as you can. Don't try to fight a grizzly. If you don't get your bear spray out in time, protect your head and neck, protect your face, and roll up in the ball in the fetal position. Protect your organs. So that's the
How
best
can
you
you
can do.
tell? How can you tell if it's a grizzly or a brown bear?
Okay, so this is where people are gonna. It helps to do the research, but so in Montana, grizzly bears are primarily always going to be that light brown color. They may have some dark fur to them, but black bears are strictly black. We do have what we call brown bears or cinnamon bears. Those are like black bears. Okay, the best way you're going to be able
Okay.
to tell right away is by looking at the ears or in between the eyes. The ears on a grizzly bear are going to be short and rounded and a little more fluffy. On a black bear, they're going to stand up and be more pointy. On a grizzly, their nose has an arc, like a curve to it, whereas a black
Uh-huh.
bear's is very straight. Okay, comes straight down. And then a grizzly bear's between their eyes is more concave, so they'll look like they have a bit of a dent in their forehead that their eyebrows will come in, whereas a black bear's face
Okay.
is very flat and very bold. So if you think you see a grizzly bear, is it a cinnamon brown bear or is it a grizzly? And you're going to look for the hump in the back. If you can get that bear sideways to you and see how it's walking and look for that hump on the back. Grizzly bears have a very pronounced hump, and if they know you're there, it's going to really stand up. A black bear doesn't have that, and you won't see that on a brown bear. So that hump is going to be a big indicator that you're looking at a grizzly for sure.
That's
That's awesome.
important. Like
That's
I'm like,
awesome. Yeah.
like it's
I'm
really.
gonna
I
be
mean,
like,
we're California kids, so it's easy to blow our mind about this. But
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We don't
and I
see a
mean
lot of
it's
bears in our area, so
yeah, and that's fair. And always, it helps to look at a picture before you go out. Carry something maybe with you where you can see a little further and get a better idea. That can be, this can be the difference in knowing what kind of bear that is. 200 to 300 yards further, which would really help. So
right.
if someone panics and they're like, I don't know what kind of bear this is, and you have bear spray, you should always just pull it out and be ready, because no matter what the bear, right?
yeah, you should. Yeah, I would definitely suggest pulling it out and be ready, and not out of fear, but out of discipline,
Right.
because that should be, instinctually and mentally. At that point, you should know that's what you do. That's what you do.
Okay.
Not just because you see the one, but there could be another. You could be between the sow and the cubs at that point. And that's another thing, is not really knowing where they could have cubs. It's spring and they'll have their cubs all the way through the summer. So this, you got to always keep it in mind, but you got to have a
Right.
reference point. Am I ahead of her? Am I behind her? Am I coming up on her, or is she coming up on me? If you're coming up on her, if you find that you're following one, there could be cubs nearby, and she is going to not be happy. If you are between her and the cubs, if you see cubs, you need to make your distance. Don't run, but make your distance as quickly as you can. Getting between a bear and cubs is the worst thing. If they're on both sides of a trail and you're in the middle, you need to boogie, or get yourself in a position. If you got to flank around, you need to separate yourself from the cubs best you can.
Is there a general rule of thumb? Like, do cubs walk ahead of their mom or behind their mom? Or
That's in nature. They're going to be wherever they're going to be. They may even be laying down when you come around the corner. That's why it's good to make your noise and whistle. You'll hear them hopefully running off before you get to see
right.
them. People often get spooked. The most recent one just a couple weeks ago here in Southwest Montana. I won't talk a lot about the location, but you can look it up. But two fishermen were charged by a grizzly out of the brush, out of the bush, and I think they used their weapon immediately. They didn't draw bear spray;
Yeah.
they drew their weapon. and it headed the other direction. So sometimes you're not going to see it and you're not going to know. And they change direction very fast. So
Um,
the best thing you can do is just be aware of your surroundings. And if you're out in open areas and open plains and things where you can see further, you'll know whether it's coming at you or going the other way. Whereas if you're in some tight trees, or say the brook is right next to you, if you're walking along a babbling brook, you might not hear as well. So you got to be a little more louder. Maybe
yeah.
throw a rock in the water every once in a while. Chances are the bear's just going to be there getting a drink, not fishing like you. But it's a good thing to be aware of. Brooks and creeks attract bears. It's a source of water. Moose
Right.
as well out here. So yeah.
Right. So that's like one of my next questions is that, like, kind of like, is there times of days or places that we should be aware of? Obviously the brooks, and I would think too, like this time of year, are they higher in the mountains or like lower is that there a difference or?
I'm gonna be super honest, because I don't necessarily know where everyone's looking, and when they're looking and the conditions that are there. But as a rule of thumb, it's spring in Montana. They're coming out of hibernation. They're going to be having their cubs, so they're going to be hungry. They're going to be a little cranky. They're going to be a little defensive. So they're going to be looking for these berries that are coming up, huckleberries in Montana. They're going to be foraging. So they're going to be moving, and they're going to be lower. I'm going to say that they're going to be lower just because they're coming out of their dens. There could be still snow up there. They're going to want to wander down to where the grasses are growing and where things are more available to them. And the hunting may be easier for them out of the snow. So I
Right.
would expect this time of year in most areas in Montana, especially Beaverhead, Deer Lodge National Forest, any of the mountain ranges that you might be exploring in and around this area, that's known as bear territory. I would expect to see them out and about all times of the day, from daybreak to sunset. You're less likely to run into one at night unless you're camping and have a lot of food around. If you're just going
Right.
in and out of the woods, I think I would suggest that maybe they're more active in the mornings, but it's really hard to
Right.
tell. They're pretty unpredictable like that.
That's interesting you say that because Scott, when we were going in the one mountain, he's like, I don't want you to have even anything on your breath when we get out of this car. He's like, rinse your mouth with mouthwash. I'm like, this seems extreme to me. Is that extreme?
I don't think there's any method of preparation that could be too extreme. However, the only reason I like the mouthwash idea is because of the smell. Bears they're particularly not fond of like things like, I think, mints and ammonia type smells. They're a real turnoff.
Okay.
They don't want to be there. Um, but as far as not smelling like food and stuff, you got to have food with you. You're gonna eat in the car. You're gonna smell like your dogs. You're gonna smell like whatever's in your air freshener. There's some things you just can't beat. So as far as the scent, it's not something I'm overly concerned about. But I definitely wouldn't go out smelling like fresh meat. Like I wouldn't just get a rotisserie chicken and go out. So
No, but definitely smear peppermint all over my body. I got it.
yeah,
That's right.
or not,
Lots of
yeah,
peppermint.
Yeah.
something. It
Ammonia
won't.
deodorant.
Yeah, I can't say specifically that mint will get rid of a bear, but having things that bears are less likely to be attracted to, are good things. I mean, I don't think a bear is going to follow you up the trail because you ate wings for lunch. But if you got a ham sandwich in your backpack and it's a hot day, you can bet it's gonna smell behind you for a long ways. Your scent is going to
Really?
be a half mile behind you. Your shoes, anything you stepped on that day.
What?
Yeah, even if you stepped in I mean, excuse me,
No, it's
anything
okay.
around.
I said
But
bad words last week. It's okay. We didn't get in trouble.
Yeah,
yeah, but
I'll
we're
probably be.
humans. You can only do the best you can. So
Right. But you bring a
yeah.
good point. You bring a good point. What do you think people should be out there hunting with their dogs?
Hunting for the treasure. I believe, because I think it's in a safe area, and I think because Justin suggested it's okay to bring your dog. It doesn't mean you're going to go everywhere he would have gone with Tucker.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you'll want to take your a lot of up to the owner. It's up to how comfortable you
Right.
are with your dog. Is your dog good around animals? Is your dog good in
Right.
walking on rocky, craggy trails that could, their paws can succumb to some of the terrain out here pretty quickly. So you got to remember
Right.
where we going, where we hiking, what are we hiking in, and can our animal handle the heat? Can it handle the elevation? They're just as susceptible to elevation as we are.
Well,
So
no
you got to
clue.
think about your animal like you. You're both going to need water. You're going, you may need to bring your dog some food too. You never know how long you'll be out there. So
Right. I never even thought about like our
yeah,
dog getting some kind of altitude sickness because that's
sure,
certainly
sure.
logical. And when you say it now,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of great technology out there for tracking your dog. If you happen to be in an area with service, they got those great e-collars. You can
right.
at least keep track of them. As far as folks operate Montana, it's either your dog can be off the leash or on the leash. It's really your comfort level. I would love to bring a dog if I had one. I don't, but anybody that does, I would say bring your dog. They're going to help alert you to things nearby. They're going to give off a scent. And I don't think it's anything to be worried about. I don't think a
Okay.
bear is not any more likely to come after you because you have your dog. So
I always say my dog thinks he's a person. He's not aware he's a dog. I think he would knock me over running from a bear and then I'd get eaten.
mhm.
So we
Yeah,
talk a lot about bears, but then you
yeah,
also mentioned moose or mooses. I don't know, just moose. I don't
just
It's
moose,
meese.
just
Me, it's
moose.
lots of meese. It's not meese.
Cow, yeah.
moose
Okay.
eye, moose
There's
eye.
a countable. Yeah, moose are
When
countable.
I see a moose 100 yards from me, I slowly back up. What do I do with that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, same. Just give them their space. Moose are not as aggressive and they're far more adaptable, by the way. Just like black bears are less aggressive and less adaptable, grizzly bears are more aggressive and more adapt, so they will change quickly. Whereas moose, they're slow and go, unless you come out right on top of them,
Mhm.
they're gonna be fine. They're more interested in food than you, and they don't recognize humans necessarily as a threat. So but
Oh, that's
again,
good.
springtime, the cows, the female, the mama moose has calves in the spring too, and just the same as you would with a bear, try not to get yourself between a
Right.
cow moose and their calves. They will trample you, and it's really hard. People think you can just maybe hide behind a tree with a moose. They can circle a tree just as quick as a dog, and they want to just stomp. They don't really
Oh,
bite. They won't lay down on you and crush you, but they will stomp you. And I know somebody in Big Sky, Montana that was trampled by a moose on their shoulder. They had to have shoulder surgery.
oh
And
my
that happened in Big
gosh.
Sky, and it was in the spring. And it's because they crossed a path between a mama moose and its calves. And that was the only reason. And he ended up getting a moose tattoo print over the surgery scar
That's awesome.
to memorialize. It was pretty funny. But yeah, moose are not something I worry about too much. You can usually hear them. They're slower, moving, so you can hear them crunching through the woods. Those big hooves smashing everything down in front of them, and they're going to be on the creeks. They're going to be eating the willows. They're going to be hanging out low. You're going to be more likely to run into a moose probably than a bear for sure.
I was amazed by the amount of moose scat that we saw when we were up in the mountains last time. And
Mm.
I didn't know what it was at first because, I'm not a scat expert. I'm just not.
You also haven't been around a moose, so
That's
Yeah.
fair. That's very
yeah.
fair. But I was like, when I was told what it was, I'm like, I think moose just walk around like just going all day long. There was that much. I was like, this is insane.
Could have been mooses, as I like
It's
to say.
probably definitely extra moose. It was
Hmm.
mooser. It was a
Moose eye,
moosagerie.
yes.
Yeah.
So, so obviously, let's say I am accidentally between them. Can I bear spray them?
Yes,
What do I do? I have,
bear spray,
yeah,
and people have. You wouldn't be the first one to ask or do it. Yeah,
right.
bear spray is just as effective at a moose. The only difference is again, you're not going to spray the same distance. A moose is going to come towards you, and you're going to want to aim up higher towards its head. Moose are much higher. They're it's taller than a horse. So with a bear, they have their head down and they're coming for you. So you're going to want to spray it down and up when a bear. Whereas a moose, you're going to want to start up high. It's going to have its head high as it's coming to you. Its weapon is its feet for a bit, it's going to want to trample you. So yeah, I would keep my bear spray ready for a moose as well.
What about, is there mountain lions in this area?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. We have mountain lions.
I could
And
say,
again, we're not trying to scare folks Of course,
No.
you know, they're going to be in Colorado, they're going to be in Wyoming and Utah as well, and you know, parts of New Mexico. They're all over the place. I had never seen a mountain lion. However, Montana is known for mountain lion attacks. I don't know if anybody's looked up Todd Orr, but this was just a couple of years ago. He ended up fighting off a grizzly, and he's the most knowledgeable guy that I know around. And sometimes you're not going to see it coming. A mountain lion, you're not going to see it coming. They come from behind you. You know, they're going to be up on a rock, and they're just going to be sitting there watching you go by. Again, bring a partner, wear a backpack. You know, backpacks help, especially if you think you're in mountain lion territory. That backpack's going to help protect you and protect your back, because a mountain lion comes from, you know, they're going to go for your neck or back. So, you know, carrying a backpack is a good idea if you think you're going to be around them too.
So bear spray is basically like bear makes, right?
You know, they call it bear spray. It's for any animal. You know,
Right. I was gonna say it's like
the guys that
yeah.
designed it for bears. The two guys that ended up,
Okay.
I don't know if the Counter Assault's the brand they came up with, but those two men in particular came up with the idea for bear spray for bears. Um, they will work on mountain lions, they will work on moose. There's not anything specific that they make for a moose or a mountain lion. Bear spray is just kind of the all around pepper spray, capsaicin spray that's gonna scare them away. That's gonna blind them and make it so they can't breathe. So
That's fantastic. So if a mountain lion
yeah.
jumped on your back, pulling out your pepper spray and getting it, probably gonna get yourself a little bit too, because you're scared and you're freaked out
Yeah,
and there's a mountain lion on you. But
you're gonna be glad. That's the worst. You know, if the worst thing that happened is you got bear spray in your face while defending yourself, you're gonna be okay. And getting a little bit on yourself is only gonna keep them off of you even more. So they're not gonna be interested. Yeah, they
Right.
won't come back.
So since we're going over all these different animals, right? You got bison out there too, right? So are they just out roaming around and
No, well, so the bison that you'll see will be in areas that are protected and fenced off. Generally speaking, there are parts of Montana in certain areas where you can drive through open range. You'll be in your vehicle, and you won't be out hiking about. Uh, I would almost consider it 100% unlikely you're gonna just run into a bison out here.
Oh,
That
really?
won't
okay.
probably happen. And in that case, again, I would suggest bear spray. Um, there's no other technique or method that I know of to protect yourself, because you just shouldn't be getting close to bison. They're grazers, and yeah, you shouldn't run into them here.
If
And
you did come up
Yellowstone, yeah,
on one, do you just walk away slowly, or no sudden moves, or just keep
yeah.
going, or
Don't do anything to encourage it. They're
yeah,
looking for, you know, the types of movements that are indicative of a fight. So if you're, you know, putting your head down and making eye contact, that's a no. You know, eye contact all around,
okay,
by the way. Speaking of mountain lions and moose and bear, I would avoid eye contact with any, especially mountain lions. They see that particularly as a form of aggression. Never look a mountain lion in the eyes. As fascinating as it may be in the moment, you will regret it later. So just look down for sure. Yeah,
oh my
and
gosh,
I would say the same with a bison too. I wouldn't eye up with a bison. I would back away and get out of their space. They just want you out of their space. So I wouldn't run necessarily,
yeah,
but I would always suggest walking away and using slow, comfortable tones, and
Right.
not using sounds of panic and, you know, the things that you
yeah.
want to do probably.
You
But
have
you have
yeah,
to,
yeah.
yeah, habit makes you want to scream, but practice makes you want to be quiet. So
That brings a good point though, practicing. And we're going to do a practice run this week. We will get our short up with the practice bear spray. I can tell
yeah,
you that I was able to find practice bear spray on Amazon relatively cheap. It was like $20 a bottle. I've been told, and certainly I haven't shopped for it, but I've been told you can get this in most sporting goods stores in areas where bears are known for relatively cheap as well.
yeah.
In relation to practicing, what do you recommend people do when they get these cans to practice?
Okay, so good. I'm glad you asked. Right away, I'm just going to do a shout out. So if you come into Bozeman and you come into the airport, we have a Bob Ward's, we have an REI, we have a Sportsman's Warehouse, all within about 10 minutes of the airport. swing in there. They have the Inert bear spray. I think all 3 of those outfits do carry it. And they give you, like, it comes with your bear spray. So you get 1
Right.
Inert and 1 bear spray as a package. And so the first thing that a lot of people are going to want to figure out is where you're going to hold it. Are you a righty? Are you a lefty? You know, are you walking with a hiking stick or without? Do you have your dog on a leash? What hand are you going to hold it with? Righties keep it on the right holster or in a chest. You know, some people have chest holsters where you can keep it up here, so it's easier to grab up front.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, it's really about your comfort level. They do sell at those outfits, REI Bob Boards and Sportsman's and places like that. You can get a different style holster. The ones that they come with that are elastic, they're pretty comfortable, right? You can slip it on your belt loop if you have one. The problem I found with the elastic holsters is they tend to pull out like elastic, like they stretch before you can get it out. So I don't personally carry the elastic holster on my hip. Mine rides in my chest. I have a specific chest harness that it's up here. It's up in front, and that way I have my hiking pole or whatever. I can throw it down and grab my chest harness, and also that's where I carry my firearm too. So all of my safety minded is in the front where I can get to it, especially if I go down, especially if I have to roll protect, anything like that. If it's on my hip, it's going to be much harder. And if I have a backpack, you know, you got to think about those sorts of things. You get your dog, your hiking stick, your water bottle, and before you know it, your bear spray is the last thing you're thinking about. A lot of folks wear pants that have a lot of pockets. Sometimes they can ride right in that side pocket on your hip or below your hip, which is nice to pull out. I would suggest not clipping anything to the safety mechanism. You might think you have a key ring or a lanyard that you want to attach to it. Don't have anything attached to this. Don't clip it through its thumb loop to your backpack. No, it's got to be free and accessible. And sometimes I just it can be in my back pocket too, as long as I'm aware of where it is. It's just got to be wherever it makes you comfortable.
Right. If so, like, so say you go down, and and a bear's, obviously this bear is a grizzly bear. It's hungry.
Okay,
It's angry. You're
sure.
down.
There we go.
You're trying to protect your neck with one hand. Do you still recommend trying to get your spray out to continue to spray it?
Again, having not been in this particular situation, the best I can say is once the bear is on top of you, your bear spray is no longer an option, and it's about protection at that point.
Okay.
For sure. And I'm going to say that because that's my plan. Because your bear spray is either you're not going to have any focus for it in that moment. You know, these bears are 600-800 pounds. They're going to throw you around like a rag doll. Your bear spray is probably going to get punctured or thrown off of you, or it at that point could be spraying in your face while this is happening. Again, the best thing you can do is be prepared. A lot of people love it on the hip. If you practice enough, you can shoot from the hip too. And if you go down, you can shoot. You can still shoot. You can shoot from the hip. But again, that would be practice, you know, having the live can, taking that safety off, being comfortable with it being off, even just fiddling with it, putting the safety back on, popping it off. This is a live can. This is unshot, but I'm comfortable enough to open to my house. I know how it feels, you know, and it's about getting comfortable with it. So even if you have a dud can, the one you've already shot off, just practice with that safety, knowing how it feels. And the best thing you can do is do that over and over and over.
Yeah, and if you're practicing with the live cam, we recommend doing it outside. Unless you're an expert like Matt, take it outside.
Yeah, for sure. I can do it with my eyes closed. I mean, you should be able to do it with your eyes closed too. So practice makes perfect. These are just tools, just like everything else is a tool. And tools need practice. So
So we're coming out to Montana. We got our bear spray. What else should I bring? What else is highly recommended to keep me safe out there, to keep me warm, to keep me protected, so that I can hike at least a mile minimum?
For sure. You know, a lot of folks are going to be flying out here, I would imagine. There's not a lot of folks who are going to be driving. That'll make a huge difference in what you can bring. You're not going to necessarily you can't bring bear spray on a plane, but you can get it when you're here.
You cannot.
You won't be able to carry your knives on the planes, but you can put them in your check-in luggage. So you can bring a knife that it goes under the belly of the plane. As far as small stuff, personal stuff that you might have at home that you might really want to bring is obviously one thing that you're not going to want to have to spend extra money on when you get here is a compass. We know that you're going to be playing with maps and books and things like that. I love my headlamps. You know, everyone's maybe got a personal favorite headlamp. They don't want to have to buy one when they get here. Just remember to take the batteries out when you fly with them. But headlamps are key. There's just a couple small things you'll bring if you're flying. You're not going to be able to bring like your first aid kit. Maybe you want to bring a, you know, pair of binoculars, a small set. You're not probably going to bring a giant first aid kit when you're flying, but you can maybe get some essentials when you get here. The best thing you can do is know where you're going to go when you get here. So you're going to know what you need when you get here. Petzl makes really great small little headlamps that are waterproof and float. You know, there's a lot of great things that you can bring from home without having to spend the money when you get here for those day hikes, for sure. And if you're going to be sensitive to sun, bring your sun lotion or whatever you're going to need there. If you have allergies, it's smoky season here. Some people don't think they have allergies until they get here. If you think you're
Oh
prone to
yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Scott didn't have allergies until he got there, and then he's like, "What the
Yeah.
heck?" You know?
Yep. You're going to dry out faster if you have contacts, or you're going to need eye drops. You know, think about things that you're going to maybe need out there that you might not have thought otherwise, for sure.
Right.
It'll make a difference if you're flying, but some of the little things I never leave without are the cheapy emergency blanket. It's reflective. If you think you're going to get in trouble, you're going to get out there. I carry the life straw. This is for drinking water out of creeks and streams that are obviously moving bodies of water that will have very little contaminants, but these don't weigh anything. You can fly with them. They're very affordable. Life straw. I would highly recommend that. As
You can
far
get six
as
packs at Costco of Life Straw now too.
yeah,
So
there you go. Perfect.
huge value
Yep.
on that one.
Yeah, bring one or two. It's not really buggy season right now, but there are what we call the hatches are going on. So a lot of things are coming up out of the creeks and beds. I carry the OR head net if I think I'm going to be in an area for like an extended period of time, maybe treasure hunting, looking around. And if the bugs get bad, I want a head net just in case that happens. They work great over a hat, but you can wear them without too. That's something I don't leave without, for sure.
That's
Oh,
cool. I
that's
didn't
good
even
to
know about
know.
that. Yeah.
I'd never even heard of that either.
Yep.
I will tell you. So for me, like I generally buy. I have a small first aid kit. I have my life straw.
Mhm.
I have my blanket in my pack that does go. It can go inside the belly of the plane if you check a bag.
Yep.
But almost every time we get to a place we buy fresh bear spray or something like that, what I've been doing is I leave it at the counter downstairs at the hotel when I leave generally. And I say,
Mhm.
if any other treasure hunters come, just let them know that they can take my bear spray.
That's nice.
Or
Yeah.
it could be there next time. Or last time when we did our meet and greet, we told Jackie and Tanner, "Oh, take this bear
Mhm.
spray. We're leaving tomorrow, so take this."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one thing I'm hoping people who are watching may consider is, first of all, always check to see if somebody left any bear spray in the lost and found. Like I've left
Yeah.
it at 2 hotels now.
Yeah. I think we almost
Doing
need like
2, like a
a
kit, yeah,
resource
like something
channel.
people
Yeah.
do, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you never know the next time, or put it out there in Discord that you're
Mhm.
leaving and this is the hotel you're at. We're going to leave it there. Just because we could say it's not cheap. It's not expensive, but it's not cheap. And by the third time buying it, I was
It
like,
adds up.
there's got to be a better way to do this. And I
Yeah.
wanted other people to not have to worry about it.
Yeah. I thought about there. Maybe at some point we can get a channel or a resource thread where folks can get gear or have access to things that they might not necessarily have the finances for. I've got multiple
Sure.
metal detectors. I'm happy to let treasure hunters borrow a metal detector, borrow my Catadan water filter system. This can do gallons of water for multiple people. There's a lot of stuff out there that you might not necessarily fly with. I even have a fire shelter for when I'm camping.
Wow.
And I keep it in my truck. Maybe not something that you're going to have the money for right away, but if you're planning on being out an extended amount of time in fire season, things like that, definitely. If you're a firearm carrier, those are things that you can fly with and have here that you might not necessarily have otherwise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I carry the first aid kit. I carry paracord and a whistle. Whistles are great because if you get too exhausted, you can't yell for help, but you can always whistle
Right.
for help. That's a good thing to keep. A lot of people think these whistles are pretty silly, but when you're out of breath or you're in an area where you can't yell at canyons and things up in the mountains, whistles, they carry quite a long distance. So, and I carry a signal mirror for airplanes and things like that. That's how Harrison Ford rescued a group of hikers, because they were able to signal mirror him.
What?
Yeah, it's a wild story, but signal mirrors are super light. You can also use an emergency blanket, but specific signal mirrors are designed for being seen from great distances. So things like that for sure. Um,
That's
I know a
huge.
lot of
I'm going to
people.
order a couple of those for our trivia night to give away.
Yeah. They
Some
make
signal
them so they
mirrors.
fold up and they're real small. I'm a scout, so I'm super vintage. So I got the vintage 1950s Boy Scout signal mirror. So I carry that,
That's
of course.
awesome.
Yeah. And of course the compass. Everyone bring your compass, or at least know how to use it before you go. Got your waterproof matches at all times. I carry a tourniquet too. I don't know if there's a lot of people
Right.
that know how to use them, but they're super inexpensive. And in the event that you're camping or hiking or get injured, even just a broken femur can jeopardize an artery or a laceration from splitting firewood or something like that. So for any of you diehards out there, get a tourniquet, learn how to use it. They're super easy and cheap, and they can save your life or someone else's. So
Right. We actually have them in our cars too,
yeah,
because
Love that.
it's there was some statistic. My son's in the army, and so he panicked one day and calls me in the middle of the afternoon. He's like, "You got to go buy tourniquets for the car." I'm like, "What?"
yeah.
He's
I
like, "You
carry.
have to have
I
it." He
have.
goes,
I
"People
have a
bleed
couple.
out." He goes,
Yeah,
"People bleed out, Mom. That's why they die from in car accidents. Is they bleed out.
yeah,
But if they had a tourniquet in their glove box, they've got a greater likelihood of survival." So
yeah.
that day, I had to order a bunch of tourniquets on Amazon, and we have tourniquets and like the things to break your windows in every
Yep,
car.
yep.
Cut your seatbelt. You got to have all
Yeah,
that good stuff.
Yeah,
So
I think that the treasure hunting community is so valuable for each other because we all gain more experience every single time we go out and we learn things and we have things to
hmm
tell each other about and products that we use and like and you end up just kind of acquiring more stuff as you go, things that you like to carry in your bags with you. You know, I'm more of the medic side, so I carry a lot of extra medical stuff with me. The SAM splints, you know, these are super
yeah,
lightweight, break an arm, break a leg. These will fix you up in a heartbeat out there. And I carry stuff like that because there's a good chance you could need it and you don't want to be without it. So, um,
right,
you know, collapsible hiking poles. I carry a Cascade. They're super nice. These ones have a measurement stick on the bottom so you can see snow depth and stuff like that, kind of know where you are, poke around in front of you, poke. And again, going back to snakes, if you're someone who doesn't want to be reaching into holes with snakes, bring a collapsible hiking stick and use it to poke around in those holes. And I think you'll hear that box when you hit it. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
and I think the collapsible ones you can fit in your bag for under the plane too. So you can fly with something like that and
absolutely.
not have to buy it when you get there.
I
Those
fly
will
with them every
help big
time.
time.
Every time
Perfect. Yep.
they're in my
100%.
bag, so
Yep.
they're great.
Yep.
What
Um,
is the
yeah.
one thing? What's the one thing? If you could only say one thing to people before they go out into the wilderness, what is the one piece of advice you think that they need to know? I know this is a hard one. You could think about it for a second, but I think that there's got to be
No,
something.
I have no hesitation in that one. It's have a plan. And by have a plan, I don't mean have a plan in your head about what you think you can handle and what you can do. Um, Planning is key, and that's having somebody that you're in contact with that knows where you're going, what time you plan to be there, what's your intended route, how far do you intend to go off of the trail if you do before you turn around, and check-in times. If I don't check in by this time, call, text, or come out to get me if you're nearby, or and then a time for when they need to call search and rescue. My older brother Travis and I, he's the Eagle Scout. Every time I go out on my own, him and I, he's in Vermont, by the way, because he's my trusted, he's my who I go to. You have to have somebody on that list that's number one that knows how to handle what you're doing, and he'll have a list of everything I'm going with. He'll know my route, what time I plan to check in, and I'll give him a time per day, whether it's a Saturday or so. It doesn't matter when I go out. I'll say if I'm not back by 11 p.m., that means you need to call search and rescue. And that means I plan to be out at 4. So if I'm not out
Right.
within 6 hours of my intended time to be out, that's when I have somebody call. I don't let them sit around and wonder or wait. There's a predetermined time, and that duration of time can change depending on where you think you're going and how long you think you'll go out.
Right.
So, you know, if it's getting to be winter time, you know, those windows close. I plan to be out at 4, but
Right.
if I'm not out by 6, call search and rescue, something's gone terribly wrong. So have a plan. That's my, Boy Scouts motto is be prepared. I think that's the best thing you can do is be prepared. And that means studying where you're going, having a plan, having a map, having a partner, possibly. And if you can't, have a hell of a plan, because a lot of the times there's no service. And, you know, relying on your Garmin SOS, your mini InReach, which I have too, is good comfort, but there's no better comfort than having a solid plan and a written plan. Be so comfortable with your plan that you can write it down in the dark. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Right. That's
Yeah.
huge. That's
Yeah.
huge.
And with someone you trust, have that plan, not with your roommate who's might be working or might not, or has a birthday to go to. No. This is somebody basically they know you're out hunting and they're on standby. They're aware. They're aware of where you are and they're ready to check their phone for you. So, and a lot of the folks that have gone out in the past during the fen hunt and people that have met really unfortunate fates, if they had just had a little better of a plan, there might have been a better chance for sure. So,
Yeah,
Right.
no, exactly.
yeah,
I
yeah.
agree.
And again, if you're flying into Montana and you don't have a plan and you're all alone or something, make a plan with me. I live in Belgrade. I'm near the airport. I ranch in Gallatin Gateway. I'm out near Yellowstone often. I'm not far from Dillon. Get in touch with somebody that you know nearby too. Don't feel like you're all alone in the treasure hunt. You know, I've met some folks in the past that didn't really have any resources. So I think it's super important to have those resources when your boots on the ground before you get out there. And don't forget to drink plenty of water and eat before you go out. This is just like getting a tattoo. You got to be ready for it. Don't hype up and not forget to, drink and be hydrated. Have a steady mind and steady head when you go out there. You'll be
Right.
excited. People get excited out here and it's easy to forget things. Whether the smallest things, just go over your list before you hit the trail.
Yeah, that's great advice because everybody out here thinks if you're coming out here and you're spending money to go out here, you're pretty sure you know where it is. So if you don't, you need to be prepared. Or if you think you know where you're going, and you're going to be out there a lot longer than you think, because being boots on the ground is not the same as going, oh, my saw got me to an exact spot. Well, great. That exact spot is usually a football field, and you got to grid search it, and you're going to be out there way longer than you think.
That's
And
right.
you got to be prepared. You got to have a plan. I love it. So
Yeah. Justin
I've yet to
said
be there
yeah.
that short of a time so far. I've never gotten out the time I thought I'd get out. So
Mhm.
that's very fair. What did you just say? I didn't mean to cut you off. Justin said what?
Oh no, I was saying that Justin had specified on the safety bit so much, and not going out alone, and having all your gear with you, and having a steady mind, and mental wellness is important too.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think you might know somebody that's going out, and they're a little excited too, just be aware of your friends and family and people that are in the hunt, and whether or not they're really okay to be out there too. And I think
Sure.
Justin would agree that's also a huge thing, whether it's your partner, your friend, or maybe you've been talking to somebody that maybe you might have concerns about them. Be sure to reassure them to be ready and be prepared. For sure.
Yeah, it's not a
Treasure hunting
game.
can be
It's not a
treasure hunting
game.
wouldn't be treasure hunting without being dangerous, no matter what. There's got to be an element of
Right.
danger. So yeah.
Right. Justin just said that too. It's like that's actually part
mhm.
of the thrill, right? The thrill of the chase, if you will.
Yeah.
It's about that
It wouldn't
moment
be
and
an
that
adventure
energy.
if there wasn't a little bit of danger, at least. That's
That's
for
Yeah.
exactly what he said. If
Yeah.
there was a
He has
little
a
bit of
great
danger.
Justin has a great section on safety on the website. I would go right to it. It almost should just be the first thing that pops up when you join the hunt. It should almost be something that you agree on. You should mentally agree to that checklist before you even fly out or go boots on the ground.
Right.
Go to treasure.quest, open his safety page. And if you don't think you're ready for that or have the stuff on that list, then you're probably not ready.
Right.
So yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and you can't, you make such a great point because, so I've been out a few times and I've definitely seen some hunters out there, no pack, no water. I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm lucky.
Yep.
I teased Scott really bad that he overpacks my pack. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
this thing's 30 pounds. But the reality is this, I eat all the beef jerky every time.
Mhm.
Every single
Mhm.
time I eat all the beef jerky. And I generally drink both the waters.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
And
if I didn't have that, I'd be hungry and thirsty.
oh yeah, and that's we gotta be safe, but also have fun. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want the whole thing to be to scare not to scare you from going out, but bring all your goodies with you. Bring your camera. Be sure to
Yeah.
bring your picnic blankets. Whatever you're gonna do, have a great plan. And
Hmm.
we recreate all over the place all the time, and it's pretty safe. So I think that this treasure hunt is going to be just as safe. Just be prepared, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, if you're completely prepared and you're ready to go, then it's all about having fun, right? Because you
And
don't
it
have to
will be
worry
fun. And
about
I go out alone often. I don't have a lot of friends nearby, but I am always prepared, and confidence is key. And you got to have confidence if you're going to go out alone, especially. But I would recommend everybody, if it's your first time in Montana or anywhere nearby, if you're going into the mountains, bring somebody with you if you can, or get to know someone that you can touch base with. 100%.
That's great advice. That's
Yeah.
great advice.
Yeah. Nobody needs to be alone in the hunt, and you don't need to feel alone when you're out hunting. So.
Well, and there's a lot of
that.
people looking to join you. Like, again, join the Discord groups.
Mhm.
You know, we say this over and over again. Subscribe to people like Calazar, you know, and Mysterious Writing. There's such, and then go into the Discord. There are so many people looking to be out there with other people. It's a great
Definitely.
opportunity, and this is more fun with people. Like
Mhm.
it's really goal. Get outside and really have fun with people. I've got to meet
Right.
some amazing people. Heck, you were there the night we met
Yep.
so many people that night. That was
Yeah. That was a blast.
fantastic.
I
Yeah,
hope we do that again soon too. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
more
Oh
and more
yeah.
people are making YouTube channels and stuff like that. Go out, watch. You can
Right.
see a lot of the areas you're at. Chad Bird just put a video up. It's like a really long video. He was in Wyoming and stuff. So,
Yeah.
go to these people's pages, subscribe to it, because you're going to get invaluable information from watching these people. They're boots on the ground a lot. And, we're
Yep.
boots on the ground a lot. So, you can learn a lot before you even go out there. So you're even better prepared. So.
Right.
Right
And
on.
like Chad Bird's video is an example of I didn't realize how terrain can look so vastly different. I mean, I know I say this all the time that Google Earth is not really good at Google Earthing, right?
Yeah.
But when he showed in his video his Google Earth, and then when he's actually boots on the ground in his location, it almost didn't even look like the same location to me.
And it's
I was
gonna
like,
be like
holy
that a lot.
smokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was crazy. We're actually going to have JCB Hunters on from TikTok this week. We're going to do a video with them this week too. We're just trying to hammer down a date with them. They do a
Mhm.
lot of boots on the ground, so they'll have some
They're
great
always
ideas.
boots on the ground. So that's
They're
great.
Yeah.
always boots on the
Yeah.
ground, and I think that the more we can get out about boots on the ground stuff, because now that seasons are open, right?
Mhm.
There's going to be
Yeah.
more people out there. But I can't thank you enough for everything you've said
Yes.
here. I just think you probably saved somebody's life.
I hope. Yeah. I hope
Minimally,
so.
minimally help them be prepared or help them through a time that they may not have been prepared for without this. Thank you so much for
Of
being on.
course.
Your information was fantastic.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks a lot for having me on, and looking forward to seeing a lot more hunters out there. And everybody be safe and have fun.
Is really generous of you, everything you
Yeah.
said, and offering to be their check-in person. That's fantastic. So people, Matt on Discord is called Goldfinder. He's fantastic. If you need information for him, reach out to me. I'll find it. Jam can find it as well. And just watch this video. Watch this
Mhm.
video multiple times if you're going boots on the ground, because this was great information.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
I learned
Thanks.
a lot.
Appreciate it.
That's good. He needed a lot to
I
learn.
did.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Matt. We certainly appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Treasure hunt with us, we gon' light it up. There's treasure inside, yeah, we rising up. If you're gonna treasure hunt, why not treasure hunt with us? We the ones, we the truth, yeah.